AEW ending the year in style. And who better to end it in style with than your AEW champion, Mariah May? Mariah, there's a huge event coming up. It's going to be AEW's Worlds End Pay-Per-View. It's on Saturday, December 28th, returning to Orlando at the University of Central Florida's Edition Financial Arena. Tremendous card, pay-per-views. They always do excellent events, AEW. I'm sure it's going to be a big crowd there for this. What are your thoughts about this upcoming event to end the year, World's End? You as champion.
Okay, me as champion is no surprise. I know it's my rookie year, but since I stepped foot in AEW, I've taken over. So that's not surprising. I'm pretty excited because obviously I'm British, but Orlando is my home. I moved to America last year. I live here full time. So I'm going to be a hometown girl. I'm going to take that a little bit. You know, Orlando is my home. And as you said, AEW deliver in a big way on pay-per-views. We always do. They're always very, very good. I have a Tijuana Street Fight against Miss Thunder Rosa. I'm excited to see what that looks like because if you are wondering what it is, me also, I have no idea what to expect, but it's going to be a hell of a show.
I'm thinking Tijuana Street Fight, maybe there's going to be a little tequila involved. Who knows,
I was hoping for tequila.
Hey, you know what's cool about this event too, Mariah? Because you say now you're in Central Florida. No airplane. You can just drive there. Isn't that cool?
It's going to be amazing. I don't have to fly in. I can just get up and go.
What has it been like living in Central Florida and just being, because that's a change in itself coming from England and then moving to Florida and Central Florida.
Yeah, I've always wanted to live in America and I've been really lucky in my life. So I lived in the UK, I actually lived in Japan for a year because of wrestling. And then I moved here. So it's definitely been a big change. And I think for me, the biggest obstacle has just been understanding that nothing's going to change. Like I'm staying here because I'm so used to moving with wrestling. I always feel like I'm like, it's temporary. But now I've finally furnished my apartment and I'm like, I'm staying and I love living in Orlando. I love America, but I love Orlando. I feel like there's so many fun things to do. And the weather is pretty much great most of the time. I come from the UK, so any glimmer of sunshine to me, I'm like, it's sunbathing weather. Like I'm going out. So it's been great.
Yeah, we're complaining, Mariah, when it gets to be like 50, 60 degrees. We're complaining here. And all this is, that must be like the great weather. Hey, Mariah, it's been, you mentioned a rookie year. What an incredible rookie year for you. What do you think, if you look back a little bit on the year too, what do you think has been the ingredients to just having the success with AEW?
I think for me, it's just about ambition and drive and the work that I'd put in before, just in terms of like honing my wrestling craft and having that discipline and that regime and coming to AEW and doing every single show, every single opportunity I could get to get in front of the camera, I would take. And I think that plus just charisma plus circumstance has led to me having a lot of great opportunities. And I think as well, you know, I obviously came in and was Toni Storm's protege, and that really mirrored our real life. I mean, Toni came into wrestling before me and I very much followed in her footsteps. So making that jump to AEW just like she did made a lot of sense, and coming in like that made me learn from one of the best wrestlers that we have and the best women's wrestler that we have, and getting to be behind her and just, you know, copying her every move and learning her every step and then using all of that against her put me at the very top of the women's division. So it all pretty much fell into place perfectly.
Toni, I mean, with Toni Storm, is she better in color or black and white?
She's better off screen, honestly. So,
well, we've seen her recently return. So what's this like now for you seeing that? Because we thought after you did what you did, you got the title, that was it for her, but now she's come back.
I honestly don't care. I mean, for me, I was in the main event of Dynamite. Winter is Coming, special show for us. And I was wrestling my best friend, Mina, and I was trying to give Mina this amazing opportunity to be a champion, to be on American TV. You've got Thunder Rosa in the crowd holding up these weird signs with weird puns, trying to be funny. Toni Storm's coming out saying she's all elite to, honestly, my song, because that whole look, I owned that. I don't know. I don't really care. And as I said when I came back afterwards, I'll do the same thing to every single one of these girls as many times as I need to before they get the message. And that's why I'm wrestling Thunder Rosa at World's End. I told her, pick a time, pick a place, whatever kind of match you want to do for attention, we'll do. And she picked a Tijuana Street Fight. She wanted to do World's End, which, hey, that's my hometown technically, because I'm a little Floridian. I'm a little Orlando babe these days. That's good. That's a nice venue for her funeral.
Mariah, what was it like winning the title? Just what was that moment, that whole experience like before, during, after?
Oh, it was amazing. I think, like I said, it's a hell of a rookie year, and I always planned to go after Toni Storm. I didn't know it would go that far. I didn't know that any of these things would happen, and as I said, it kind of fell into place perfectly. Toni won the world title. Toni put me into the Owen. Wembley, London's my hometown. Wembley All In is our biggest show, and the way it fell into place was so perfect. But when I first came in, that was not really my intention. I was just going to have fun, kind of picking apart Toni Storm. But for it to fall like that and to be the world champion in my first year is definitely a huge honor. And it only makes sense because I always said, I'm going to come into this division, I'm going to take over because I feel that I have the tools to do so. I feel like I have the look, the personality, and the skills just based on my travels, based on my experience, and based on my work ethic. So it was definitely a surreal moment, and it still feels crazy, but also it feels right.
We mentioned Toni Storm. We mentioned Thunder Rosa and your big match coming up with Thunder Rosa in Orlando for World's End Pay-Per-View, December 28th, Saturday. UCF Edition Financial Arena. It's going to be a massive event. It'll be fun. It'll be huge. It'll be exciting. I'm curious, that women's division in AEW, especially over the last couple of years, it's really elevated itself too. And you got like Mercedes Moné in there. The list goes on and on. What are your thoughts now? You're the champion of this division. That's got to, even though you're going to just go through everybody, you're going to beat everybody, Mariah May. But what is it like being a part of that roster, being on top of that roster?
Yeah, I absolutely want us to have the strongest division. There's no point ruling over something if there's no one to rule over. So for me, every single new addition we have to the roster, every time somebody elevates their game, anytime one of the girls achieves something outside of wrestling in a different promotion or creates history or does something incredible, it's a win for all of us in that locker room, and it's a chance for us all to prove, we could be the main event. We deserve more time. We can take over. We can be just as entertaining as the men. We can sell as much merch. We can make the ratings. We can sell the tickets. So I want the division to be as good as possible. And I've always said, as champion, I want competition. I've asked, I've begged, I've pleaded for competition. So that's what I want. I hope Thunder brings it to me. A street fight seems to be Thunder's speciality. I hope she brings her best game. Her dad's going to be there in the front row. I can't wait to end her career in front of him. I really hope he cries. It'll add a little bit of cinema to what we're doing. But the better this division is, the better it is for me because I'm at the top of it.
I know you can take care of yourself, Mariah May, but I'm wondering, could maybe we see Luther get involved if Thunder Rosa brings her dad down and he tries something? Maybe Luther can come out and do something to him.
I think if Luther came out, he would probably throw tequila over my head after what I did to him at Wembley. But if I'm completely frank, I think Luther's retired or just laying around Wembley somewhere. I haven't seen him since, nor do I look for him, I suppose. So maybe he's stumbling around somewhere. But the last time I checked, I drop kicked him through a barricade, and I haven't seen him since.
I thought maybe it knocked some sense into him.
There's nothing in there. There's no chance. No redemption. Just one brain cell bouncing around.
Mariah, what is going on as far as just when you're in this world of professional wrestling? What do you think was like a big break for you to be able to get yourself just to another level?
I think for me, it's really been social media because I've been very candid and I've always documented my journey. So all of my training, even before I started training, I would talk about how much I wanted to be a wrestler and be so open about that. Because I feel like for some reason people think when they start, like, you don't talk about it and all of that. Whereas I was always so open and honest about like where I got my wrestling gear made, my training schedule. When I would travel to places in Europe and independent shows, I would vlog it. So I would film, going to the airport, going to the show, backstage, training, everything. I think for me, that kind of using that tool, and we see it more and more now, but especially like 5 years ago, using that to my advantage really gave me an edge. And when you coincide that with working very hard and traveling and training and doing all of that stuff, I think it makes a real good recipe for success. And I definitely see now, because I keep up with the indies and I keep up with social media and who's coming up, and I see a lot more people using it to their advantage and really getting themselves out there. And it makes me happy to see, because the indies is a bit of a, like any upcoming artist doing an independent show, is a bit of a thankless job. You know, there's not a lot of money in it for anyone. It's just, you know, everyone's working together to produce and make a show and get content and try and keep progressing and moving up. So to be able to use social media and make more of that, I think is an amazing thing to see. And that's certainly an edge that I had.
Did you know when you were in England that you were, to really make it big, you would have to come to America? Because you also, tell me if I'm wrong, you also spent time at Stardom in Japan?
Yeah, so I did. I lived in Japan for a year, which was not planned. I was supposed to go for 3 months, and before I even had a match there, I was like, can I stay for longer? And they're like, how long? And I'm like, as long as I can. And they were like, oh, okay. So I just moved there. But I definitely, America, since I was like a kid, I'd always wanted to live in America. I love entertainment. I love acting. I love this whole world. I feel like everything is kind of more accessible and there's more opportunity in America. And certainly with wrestling, this is the place to be. And so it was always my dream. I didn't expect it to happen so quickly, but I'm glad it did. And now I live in Orlando.
What was that like too in Stardom? Because you said you wanted to spend longer time there. Is it because you knew, hey, this is a good opportunity for me to hone my skills and see where I'm at and get better?
100%. So I felt like, you know, I'd been in the UK independent scene for a while. I had wrestled almost everybody multiple times, and I was really just dying for more opportunity. I couldn't find a whole lot of schools, and I'd been fascinated by Stardom for some time. I would always watch that and kind of try to emulate it in training. Like I would go to the warehouse and like try and copy it as best I could. And that's definitely the style I loved. And obviously the only way to do it really is to go there. And that's an opportunity I wanted for a very long time. And finally I had met a girl and she said, hey, why don't we go together? I'm going to send them your stuff. And they liked me and they brought me over. And definitely the reason I committed is because there was nothing at home for me. There was nothing left for me in the UK. And as scary as it is to leave everything behind, I knew what I wanted. I wanted to improve at wrestling. I wanted to make history. I wanted to win a title in Stardom. I wanted to be in their tournaments. I wanted to improve as a wrestler. And every kind of 2 or 3 months would progress to that kind of next level. And the girls were so generous with me, and they would come and train at the dojo and they would give me feedback and they'd get in the ring with me. And, you know, when we're trying to learn and do new things, they would always teach me. And so it's like, it was such a privilege to work with them and to learn with them for such a long amount of time too, because normally people just get a few months and I got so much time. And hopefully I can carry that into AEW. And there's so many talented women, and I think that's what's cool about our division is these women come from all over the world. So we all bring different knowledge in and really want to see each other shine and help each other and elevate each other. And so that's definitely something I try to take from Stardom with me.
And Champ, were you a fan of pro wrestling when you were growing up? And
Yes.
Did you play sports?
Yeah, so I had 2 older brothers, so obsessed with pro wrestling, and I did play sports. I played hockey, I played tennis, I played netball, which is like basketball, but you're not allowed to bounce the ball. Track and field, high jump, all that kind of stuff. So I was very athletic. I did do a lot of sports, but, you know, I did enjoy sports, but I did a lot of theater. I was a theater kid, so I loved acting. And there was always something missing from both. And I feel like pro wrestling is that beautiful combination of like the theatrics and the characters and the colors with just that athleticism and thrill of doing sports. So it just made sense.
Romeo and Juliet, Taming of the Shrew. Is this what we can see, Mariah May? How does this see where the Champ's going with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Mariah, I'm going to let you get going. I appreciate you taking the time. Got a big event coming up, AEW's World End Pay-Per-View. It's going to be Saturday, December 28th. Pay-per-view event, huge event, returning to Orlando, and it'll be at University of Central Florida's Addition Financial Arena. She doesn't have to fly. She can drive over there. She gets someone to drive her. She's a champ. She doesn't have to drive. Somebody will drive her to the event. They'll all be lined up to drive her there. So you have to worry about that. And then obviously you got all the shows. AEW Dynamite on Wednesdays. You got AEW Rampage on Fridays. AEW Collision on Saturdays. TNT, TBS. So many things going on. Mariah, and wrapping this up, just what can you say just about what you're doing and being involved, what do you just love about professional wrestling and being involved in pro wrestling?
I love making people feel something. And I feel like every time I'm in there, people feel something: hate, love, amazement, shock, funny. They feel something. And I think that's what wrestling is about.
Could we see new ring gear coming up? Do you have any ideas or no?
I always went people ask this. Have I ever had a match and not worn new gear? Specifically a title match. I wear new gear every week. I have costumes on costume. I have a closet for my costumes, by the way. So you're gonna see new gear.
Yes. All right. Thank you, champ.
Thanks.